Hey y'all, hey, so I'm back with episode 3 of Wags to Riches on Netflix. I'm gonna really try my best not to get overly heated during this episode, but I'm not even sure if there's not much to review on this episode. It's more so a conversation, and it's a conversation that started episode 1, honestly before episode 1, which is, why is YESJULZ allowed to be on this show around all these black women? The same question that my good girl asked at the table is the question we wanted to know before the show even came on. We'll get there. So MJ and Scottie are in the car together. Wasn't much of that scene. It was just MJ saying, oh, I think you and Sherelle should kind of work it out. And as Scottie said, the problem is that she has a problem with me. I do not have a problem with her. Facts of the matter, right? Then we have Ashley and Lexi or whatever, and they go, I don't know, she put her on some date. Moving on, let's get to the event. MJ has an event, okay? Scottie comes in by herself and sits at one table. Jules comes in, sees her, sits with her. Then there's a table and then another table over. And at that other table, everybody starts to come in. So it's Sherelle and Chad. And then Ashley and her husband, Portia and her husband, Lexi or whatever. So Scottie and Jules are like, damn, do they not recognize that we're sitting over here? I guess they really didn't, because Jules gets up, goes over to the other table, says hi. Lexi's like, oh, I didn't even know y'all was here. Goes over there to Scottie, her and Scottie and MJ, they go to the bar, having a nice time. Like I said, this is why I like Lexi, because Lexi, even though she's holding Sherelle accountable for the way that she acts, she's not turning her back on her, because Scottie was like, it seems like Sherelle is the common denominator here of all of the problems. And Lexi was like, well, that doesn't count for me, not for me. I love that woman. Amara, you messed up. So while they're standing over there is another young woman there, which I cannot, maybe her name was, I'm going to call her Miranda. I feel like that wasn't her name, but we're just going to call her Miranda. There was another lovely black woman that was standing over there, right? So, YESJULZ goes back over to where Sherelle and them are. Then at the second table, we have Scottie, MJ's friend or whatever, who's a guy, and then the black lady Miranda. I think that's her name. That's what we're going to go with, right? So Miranda asked the question that we all wanted to know. She said, so let's talk about this white girl, because why is she here? And they're like, what do you mean, why is she here? And they're like, given all of the stuff that she said about black women, but then for you, her name is Miranda, and then for you to come and sit around a whole bunch of black women, it's just confusing to me. And so they're like, well, we don't understand, what are you talking about? And she was like, YESJULZ has said nasty things about black women. She's like, she's been called a culture vulture. So Scottie says in her confessional, I've heard things about Jules. I've heard people say that Jules acts like a Karen, and then she throws the rock, hides her hand, and then turn around and is like, oh my gosh, I'm black. That whole little scene from Scottie was hilarious, but that's a fact. That is a solitary fact, right? So it seemed like MJ and Scottie was kind of trying to defend her. MJ was like, I don't like that. Jules is always cool to me. So Jules overhears her name. So eventually they're like, we're just going to call Jules over here. So Jules comes over, and as soon as she sits down, I guess she could kind of tell that the energy from Miranda wasn't really right. She was like, is there a problem or something like that? So MJ's friend, being messy as hell, was like, she said that you're racist. She was like, I did not say that, which she did not. She did not say that she was racist. That's not what she said. She's like, MJ was like, well, that's what you're pretty much trying to say. You're saying that she's racist. She said, that's not what I said. What I wanted to know is that she was like, you pretty much are all around this, you're around nothing but black women, right? But then it seems like the things that come out of your mouth about black women doesn't really line up. So I'm just trying to get an understanding. So then Jules starts to be like, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And she was like, all of the negative stuff that you have said about black women, but then you want to sit in our faces and be in our space. So make that make sense. YESJULZ turned The caucasity. YESJULZ white ass turned around to a black woman, and said to her, what have you done for your culture? I had to pause the whole show. The show went on full pause for me right there. We're going to get into it after this. Miranda says back to her, girl, what? I'm in real estate. I'm a real estate agent. So I get homes, for the people like in black communities. And before she got to finish, she was like, that's not doing nothing for the culture. That's not doing anything for the culture. That's you making money. And she was like, no, I do stuff. Well, what is it that you do though? Like, what do you do? I'm a brand ambassador. I do this, I do that. Okay, but that's not answering the question. What do you do? You cannot try to ask a black woman what she does for the culture as a white woman who does nothing but take and take and take and take, and then also have the nerve to shit on the same culture that you're taking from. So Miranda, see, I said I wasn't going to yell, and here we are. Let me bring it down a little bit. Miranda says, girl, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. They start going back and forth or whatever. And so I will say this. I will give Jules this. The girl Miranda did kind of go like that in her face with her finger. And Jules said, get your finger out my face. She said no. And then Jules did like smack her hand down and then hit her. And then, they started fighting. What I would like to say is that Miranda like straight whooped her ass from what we saw. Because from what we saw, Miranda's smart. She got the high ground, had her shirt and was boom, 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 boom. That ass whooping, which it actually deserved to be more. She really should have been dragging Jules from that end of the restaurant to like fucking Collins. That's what she should have been doing. But that ass whooping was the ass whooping Scottie Beam should have gave you. That ass whooping is the ass whooping Karen Civil should have gave you. That ass whooping is the one that Joe Buttons, be careful, should have gave you. Okay, I'll move it on. I'll move it over to Joe Buttons' girlfriend Sade. Oh no, actually he was with Sin at that time. That's the ass beating that Sin Santana should have gave you. We are not gonna sit here. You know what? Let me say this. Maybe people are not all that familiar with Jules and her history. The only time I've ever heard of YESJULZ throughout my whole life has been her being disrespectful as fuck in a culture that she's trying to also make money off of. So when that woman asked, why are you here? I don't think she was wrong. I know a lot of people were saying like, oh, the lady was starting, but I think it's a valid question. And real shit, like all jokes aside, as black people, we be neat and gatekeeping. We are way too friendly at times. As black people, we let everybody in because we know how it feels to be shunned out of places. So we're very open with letting people in our culture and dip and dabble and use it and take it and doing whatever, which is why we are where we are right now, why we don't own the majority of our shit. I'm not mad at nobody. If no other girls on the cast are going to hold this responsible, somebody needed to. I think it's weird to me. And then once we keep going on, right? I don't know if it's like, yeah, once we get into episode 4, we'll kind of talk about, was it episode 4 or was it the end, or was it episode 3 where the girls pretty much was like talking about YESJULZ and saying how, oh, like as a black woman this and as a black woman that. And it's like, I find that real interesting because again, from the very beginning, in my opinion, the way that this shit went is that once YESJULZ wanted to come around or whatever, I'm talking about on this show, there should have been a conversation with YESJULZ and the rest of the girls in the group of literally getting to the point, like getting to and addressing this issue. It's a problem. And Sherelle got so much mouth. This is what bothers me, like I said, so much about Sherelle. You got so much mouth about what Stoney allegedly did. You got a problem with Sade, but you don't got a problem with a white who has constantly been in the space of blackness and then constantly disrespects said people in said space. So if you're going to come into yet again, you're coming into a black space because this is a show about black women. You yet again are bringing your white ass into a black space to profit off of it when you've done nothing but disrespect the main fucking cast, like the makeup of the cast. It should have been handled from the very beginning. Sherelle, all that mouth, you should have sat Jules down in front of everybody and been like, look, we here. I have an open heart and I have an open mind. But if you're going to be around all of us and we're black women, we are going to have to address some of your behavior in the past, because otherwise I'm feeling very uneasy with you being around us. And it doesn't seem like you really respect blackness, black women, the culture. I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm telling you that's how it has come off if we're talking about reputation. So maybe I feel like, if I'm Sherelle, maybe we need to have a conversation about that. And I think that should have been addressed from the very beginning. The fact that y'all let this white woman be all up in y'all face and it doesn't become a problem until after she gets into a fight with a black girl for the 15th time. Because let's be very clear. The girl Miranda brought up the whole little tweet or whatever when YESJULZ had put up saying like, oh, is it okay if I wear this shirt? And I think it was like niggas like lie a lot or something like that. So her ass got tore up online for that, right? Fine. She then goes on and goes to like Murder Mook's podcast or something like that. And his dumb ass, which is like a battle rapper, his ass sits right next to Jules and pretty much says that like, oh, I don't care that Jules says the N-word. Jules could say the N-word all the time. It doesn't really mean much to me. And then YESJULZ sits there, laughs, and then goes on to talk shit about Scottie Beam. Let me tell y'all how sensitive. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about Scottie Beam. I don't play that shit when it comes to Scottie. I treat Scottie like I know that bitch. Like she my older sister. You coming for Scottie for me was the end all be all. You're talking about you're talking about culture. You're talking about a walking, living embodiment of culture in every aspect, from music to the way she carries herself, damn near to her fucking natural hair. You're talking about somebody that's constantly on the front lines, actively speaking out for not just music, but for us as black people, specifically black women. Now, I can't say too much. Now, I might not care for Karen Civil because I think that she has a lot of shady ass business practices. However, from a black woman standpoint, we're not going to disrespect Karen Civil and everything that she's built. That's what we're not going to do. And we're not going to talk about quote unquote culture when Karen Civil is that through and through as well. As much as I might not like that bitch's business practices. And then you decide to come for Joe. Okay, and y'all know I be on Joe's ass, but that whole situation was completely wrong. And then you doubled down on the stupid shit that you said. You literally doubled down on it. And then if we go past that, let's go into the whole thing with Kanye. So fine, you wanted to help with the Donda Project, whatever. But then you literally said on this show that you wanted to help him with his whole presidential thing. Given everything that he said, you still want to work with that man. He shitted on you, fired you very publicly, and you're still on this show trying to kiss his ass. Culture my ass. And I'm tired of us letting people come into our space who have no respect for it and letting them eat. She does not get to come into this space that is on yet again the backs of a black person and benefit. And then the minute that she feels like shitting on one of us, that's what she does. Because you was sitting around all these black women for the last 3 episodes. And then the minute that a black woman, rightfully so, calls you out about the shit that you gotta say, the first thing you say to her is, what have you done for your culture? What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Because what have you done for our culture other than take, and siphon? What else have you done? Kanye didn't need you by the time you came around, YESJULZ. Be clear. He was Kanye already. He been Kanye damn near my whole life. He did not need you at all. Be clear about that. I'm not saying that you might have not helped him, but whatever you have going on with Kanye has nothing to do with culture. And if you was actually part of the culture, like you keep calling it, you would know that we don't fuck with Kanye. You would know that. You would know that that's nobody to brag about. But again, you're so out of touch. And as Stoney said, what you do is little Karen ass shit and then turn around and flip it like, everybody's just judging me so harshly. But then you constantly prove our point time and time again. Like somebody ended up saying later, you didn't take any accountability from what the girls were saying later about that whole situation. Now, granted, that woman did bring up your name first. That woman did put her finger in your face first. But my thing is, if you're saying that you're used to people coming at you like this, there's a couple of ways you could have handled that. Either A, you could have been like, listen, I understand the things that you may have seen about me online and things that, I may have said in the past. And if that is offensive to you or any of the black women here, any black woman, period, I apologize because that's not my intention. I love black women. I know I'm not one. I know that I'm just a guest in this culture, but I really do care about y'all. I love y'all. I love the culture. And, I apologize for any way that I made any of y'all feel. If you didn't want to apologize like that, what you could have said was, you want to know what? You're free to have your opinion and I'm good, and get up and walk away. But for you to try to question a black woman about what she's done for her community when she's calling you out for the disrespect of said community is Karen shit in its wild behavior. It's wild behavior. There should have been some better gatekeeping. And it's sad that somebody who's not even on this show had to do that. Because I'm pretty sure, like I said, like the rest of us, what probably happened is she probably, from my understanding, Cheryl said that that's a black-owned restaurant. So let me get this right. I walk into a black-owned restaurant. It ain't nothing but a whole bunch of black people here. It ain't nothing but black people here. Y'all are filming, obviously. And it seems like it's a whole bunch of black women filming, mostly. And then you got YESJULZ here. Yeah, I have questions. And if nobody else is going to ask, I'm glad that she did because it needed to be addressed. We are not going to pull this whole stunt of let's try to put her in there so she could try to clean up her image. No, we got your number. We got your card and we know what type of time that you on. We already know what type of time you on. So I'm just trying to see. Too much, y'all. Too much.
She was like, so I know you don't really know all the things that we hear.
It's a mess. It's a mess. So let's move on, right? Because I want to talk about like I said, the reaction to it. So then the next day we have Sherelle, Portia, and maybe it's Lexi. I think I'm looking at the episode. Lexi, they're all on a rooftop and they all start to talk about pretty much what happened last night. And now all of a sudden, now Ashley or now Portia and Sherelle and them want to bring up, oh, well, there has been negative things said about Jules, and we just kind of let her slide. And then we go on and we see, who is it in the car? Maybe it was Portia. I think Portia was in the car and she's telling her husband she can do all of that and it not be that big of a deal. But when it comes to us as black women, it reflects poorly on us. And it's this is the thing. Ashley, Sherelle, Lexi, Portia, y'all said nothing wrong in those scenes afterwards. Y'all said nothing wrong at all. My problem is that y'all waited until after this situation to now bring all of this up when everything that you guys are saying applied before she got into that fight. All of that applied before she got into that fight. So it's I hear y'all. Y'all are correct, but I just find it interesting that y'all did not have any of this energy until then. When all of that was still true when she walked through the gate. And not one of y'all, again, Sherelle, you too busy. Y'all too busy worried about Stoney and Portia, but you let this white bitch walk in here and just, it's cool. She ain't got to atone for nothing. She ain't got to explain herself. But Stoney has to explain her sex tape that was leaked. But she got to explain that. It just irked me, the fact that once the fight happened, now all of a sudden all of the girls have a problem with Jules being around. And oh, you're so disrespectful to black women, when that was the case prior to that event. All of this picking and choosing shit is not cute.
I'm walking in. We're here in my.
1, 2, 3. And so I want to be so sensitive when I do this. But I want to be sensitive when I do this, right? But I feel like this next scene with Jules is what like producers in Hollywood and PRs, they always do. Let's try to make her a victim now. No accountability. So let's go from her completely disrespecting a black woman and getting into that whole fight. Let's go from that to now her being the victim and her being so sad and her just being so hurt by Sherelle versus her being held accountable amongst the girls in a group setting first. Let's chew her ass up, spit her out. And then we could get to the sympathy. But I don't even like the way that this was edited to pretty much make Jules seem like she was the victim in that situation. It made me mad. And like I said, I'm trying to be sensitive about what she was talking about. But that shit be, y'all do that on purpose. And when I mean y'all, I mean production. And like I said, Hollywood, y'all literally go out of y'all way to make white women look like victims even when they're the perpetrators. So let's go from her being like the perpetrator to now let's completely flip the script at the end of the episode and make people feel bad for her with no accountability in the middle. Because all of the girls said that the biggest problem is that when they called her, there was no accountability on her part. None. So we go into a scene with Jules and Sade. Now Sade and Stoney are kind of on Jules' side, but I think that's just more so because the rest of the girls ain't fucking with them. So I feel like that's why they feel the need to like be around her. But anyway, so you know, Jules tells her at the end like what happened with the fight. But the interesting part is, so she says, now to be fair, when she was there, right, she said she was like, before like she got there, you know, she wasn't gonna go. And the reason that she wasn't gonna go is because I think she, not a miscarriage, but I don't know if it was a miscarriage or if she really went and got an abortion. I'm not sure because she didn't clarify, and that's fine. Either way, she had lost the baby that day. Whether it was on purpose or not, she lost the baby that day. And so she didn't really want to come or whatever. She had told Sherelle on the phone what happened that day. And then Sherelle was like, but it's okay, like still come. So she goes. Now, we did see at the top of this episode that when Sherelle and all of the girls were sitting at the table, Sherelle had brought up kids. And Jules was sitting right next to her, and she turned to Jules and was like, you want any? I'm pissed yet again. Yet again, Sherelle, you're pissing me off because you're making me be on her side, and I don't like it. But the difference between Jules and I is whether she black or white or purple, I can be in the middle and call something out when it's right or wrong. Sherelle, that's trash. That's complete trash. For you to know that this woman just went through whatever she went through physically, and then to turn around in front of everybody and be like, well, what about you and kids? Like, you having kids? That's weird. And then Jules said that when she brought that up to Sherelle, that Sherelle tried to be like, oh, well, I forgot you even said that. Like she said, that ain't nothing small that you forget. I keep trying to tell y'all, Sherelle, trash. Trash. So she pretty much just goes on to say like how that really hurt her feelings. And then, you know, she talks about the fight. And, you know, Sade's like, I don't really know Jules to be like that, girl. Sade, don't make me not like you, because I like you a lot, girl. Don't make me not like you. Take your blinders off. Take the blinders off. And we need you to open up your eyes. But that was it for episode 3. Episode 3 was too much for me, y'all. I'll be back for episode 4. Bye.